You ever think about how much trust we put into the people we live with? A roommate can be your best friend or your worst nightmare. In this video, we're diving into the creepiest, most unsettling true roommate stories we could find. These aren't just random tales. They're real-life nightmares that'll make you double-check the locks on your door tonight. So grab your popcorn, dim the lights, and hit that like button if you're ready for some seriously chilling vibes. And hey, if you've got your own roommate horror story, drop it in the comments below. We might just feature it next time. Let's get into it. How much do you really know about the people you let into your life? For Alden Marin, an artist seeking peace in his twilight years, one simple act of kindness turned his world upside down. What began as a friendly gesture spiraled into a chilling nightmare he would never forget. Malibu's Point Dume is a sanctuary for those seeking solace. The sound of the waves crashing against the shore, the golden hues of the sunset, it's a haven for the weary. It was here, on a warm September evening in 2021, that Alden Marin first met Ellie Mae McNulty. She was walking her dog along the beach, her British accent standing out as she casually struck up a conversation. Alden, a 65-year-old artist, had spent years cultivating a peaceful life in Malibu. Once a successful wine entrepreneur, he had transitioned into a quieter existence, painting landscapes inspired by the beauty around him. But life had recently taken a harsh turn. Diagnosed with stage 4 melanoma, Alden was undergoing grueling chemotherapy. The treatments left him weak, and the isolation from his illness weighed heavily on his mind. His condo, nestled in a quiet corner of Point Dume, was his retreat, a space where he could focus on his art and heal, both physically and emotionally. Ellie, on the other hand, appeared vibrant and carefree. She claimed to be an actor and screenwriter, sharing stories of her life in London and her ambitions in Hollywood. To Alden, she seemed like a refreshing dose of normalcy, a reminder of life outside the shadow of cancer. Over the course of a few weeks, Alden and Ellie became acquaintances. She was polite, charming, and always ready with a witty remark. Then one evening, as they sat on a bench overlooking the ocean, Ellie confessed she was in a tough spot. Her new apartment wasn't ready and she needed a temporary place to stay. Just for a week or two, she assured him. Alden, ever the kind-hearted soul, didn't hesitate. He had a spare room after all, and he couldn't imagine turning someone away. What harm could a few weeks do? At first, Ellie was a gracious guest. She thanked Alden profusely and kept to herself. But soon, subtle changes began to appear. She started moving her belongings into the common areas. Her dog, which she had claimed was well-trained, chewed on Alden's furniture and left messes on his pristine carpets. Ellie became possessive of the space, rearranging furniture and leaving personal items strewn about. One day, Alden returned from a doctor's appointment to find Ellie hosting a loud gathering in his living room. Strangers roamed through the condo, laughing and drinking as if it were their home. When Alden confronted Ellie, she dismissed his concerns with a sharp remark. "Relax, it's just a few friends, don't be so uptight." Things escalated quickly. Ellie began locking herself in Alden's office for hours, claiming she needed privacy for her work. She stopped cleaning up after herself and her tone grew colder. When Alden politely asked her about her plans to move out, Ellie snapped. "I have rights," she hissed. "You can't just throw me out." Alarm bells went off in Alden's mind. He confided in his sister, Mindy, who urged him to dig deeper. Together they searched Ellie's name online, and what they found sent chills down their spines. Ellie Mae McNulty wasn't just down on her luck. She was a serial squatter with a history of exploiting tenancy laws. Court records revealed she had pulled this scam on at least 3 other homeowners, refusing to leave and manipulating the legal system to her advantage. One night, Alden returned home late from a chemotherapy session to find his locks changed. Ellie had taken over his condo entirely. Furious and desperate, Alden called the police, but when they arrived, Ellie played the victim. She claimed Alden had been harassing her and that she had a legal right to stay. The officers, bound by California's tenant-friendly laws, could do nothing. The stress became unbearable. Alden's health deteriorated further, and he was eventually hospitalized for severe depression. While he was gone, Ellie continued living in his condo as if it were her own, throwing parties and inviting strangers into his sacred space. Determined not to let Ellie destroy her brother's life, Mindy spearheaded a legal battle. It took months of gathering evidence, filing motions, and attending hearings, but finally, they were able to evict Ellie. By the time the ordeal ended, Alden was a shell of his former self. He had lost not only his home, but also his sense of security and trust. Ellie, however, showed no remorse. Within weeks, she had targeted another victim in the Malibu area, continuing her pattern of manipulation and deceit. Alden eventually left Malibu, seeking a fresh start far away from the memories of what had happened. But the scars of that experience remained. For him, the story wasn't just about losing his home. It was about losing faith in the goodness of others. This tale isn't just a warning about the dangers of inviting strangers into your home. It's a chilling reminder that sometimes the greatest threats come from the people we least expect. Imagine living with someone for 2 years, sharing meals, casual chats, and daily routines, only to discover you didn't know them at all. That's the reality one man faced when his seemingly ordinary roommate revealed a horrifying secret. It began like any other typical roommate arrangement. For 2 years, Carl and his roommate, whom we'll call Eric, had a standard relationship. Friendly, yet distant. They split rent, respected each other's space, and occasionally talked about their interests. Carl, a quiet and somewhat awkward man in his late 20s, had always been a little eccentric. He often talked about energy fields, psychic connections, and human vibrations. But Eric dismissed it as quirky and harmless. That changed one fateful night. One evening, Carl approached Eric with a strange proposal. "What if we experimented with energy exchange?" he asked. Confused, Eric pressed for clarification, but Carl's vague answer about physical proximity and shared energies left him uneasy. Eric firmly declined and brushed it off as another of Carl's peculiar ideas. But that wasn't the end of it. Eric began noticing oddities around their shared apartment. Items on his desk seemed slightly out of place. His bed sheets looked rumpled, even though he hadn't slept in them. He chalked it up to his own forgetfulness, until the noises started. It was late, and Eric was lying in bed, scrolling through his phone. The apartment was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. Then faintly he heard it, a muffled shuffle like fabric brushing against wood. His pulse quickened as he froze, straining to identify the source. The sound was coming from beneath his bed. Heart pounding, Eric leaned over and slowly lifted the edge of the blanket hanging down. His phone's flashlight beam illuminated a pair of wide, unblinking eyes staring back at him. It was Carl. Eric recoiled, yelling as Carl scrambled out from under the bed. Disheveled and wild-eyed, Carl stood there, panting. Eric demanded an explanation, his voice trembling. Carl's answer was chilling. "I've been sleeping under your bed. Just a few nights a week, to absorb your energy, to connect with you on a deeper level." The room fell silent as Eric tried to process what he'd just heard. Carl confessed that this had been going on for months. While Eric was at work or asleep, Carl would crawl under the bed to sync their vibrations. Eric, feeling violated and terrified, left the apartment that night and stayed with a friend. Over the next few days, Carl sent apologetic messages, claiming he never meant to scare him and didn't see it as wrong. But for Eric, the damage was done. The sense of safety in his own home had been shattered. He moved out within the month, cutting all ties with Carl. The story spread like wildfire when Eric shared his experience online, with thousands expressing their shock and disbelief. For Eric, it wasn't just the act itself that was horrifying, but the betrayal of trust and the realization that someone he lived with had been quietly crossing every boundary he thought was secure. This tale is a stark reminder. Sometimes the people we think we know can harbor the darkest secrets. Some relationships start with good intentions, but not every gesture of kindness is rewarded in kind. For Monique Gilbertson, a warm-hearted 68-year-old Las Vegas resident, her generosity led to a chilling and tragic end. Monique was the type of person who couldn't turn her back on someone in need. She'd spent years helping neighbors, lending a hand to friends, and offering a place to stay for those going through tough times. It was in this spirit of kindness that she opened her doors to Daniel Rausch, who had recently begun identifying as Jaslyn Rausch. Jaslyn seemed harmless enough at first, quiet, unassuming, and polite. But appearances can be deceiving. Things began to unravel almost as soon as Jaslyn moved in. Monique quickly noticed habits that left her uneasy. Dishes left unwashed for days, strange odors wafting from Jaslyn's room, and a refusal to contribute to the upkeep of the house. Monique's patience wore thin, but she tried to be understanding, giving Jaslyn the benefit of the doubt. Then came the arguments. Jaslyn grew defensive whenever Monique confronted her about her behavior. Tensions escalated, and Monique decided it was time for her guest to leave. She set a date, October 22nd, and told Jaslyn in no uncertain terms that she needed to move out. Jaslyn didn't take it well. On the evening of October 22nd, neighbors reported hearing raised voices coming from Monique's home. Those who knew her say Monique wasn't the type to back down, even when faced with conflict. What happened next is a matter of horrifying speculation, pieced together by investigators. Prosecutors allege that Jaslyn, furious at being evicted, force-fed Monique a lethal dose of fentanyl. It was an act of calculated malice, fueled by resentment and desperation. Monique never stood a chance. What Jaslyn did next shocked even seasoned law enforcement officers. When Monique's family didn't hear from her for several days, they grew concerned and contacted the police. Officers arrived at the home to perform a welfare check, where they were greeted by Jaslyn. She claimed to be house-sitting for Monique, insisting everything was fine, but the officers weren't convinced. The house felt off, too quiet, too clean in some areas, and suspiciously cluttered in others. Then they noticed the freezer in the garage. It was padlocked. When they broke the lock and opened the freezer, they found Monique's lifeless body. It was a gruesome scene, and the reality of what had happened began to sink in. Jaslyn was immediately taken into custody. During the investigation, authorities discovered that she had not only murdered Monique, but had gone about her life as though nothing had happened, staying in the house, using Monique's belongings, and even trying to erase evidence of her crime. Her wife, Gina Lopez, was also implicated, facing charges related to drug offenses. For those who knew Monique, the tragedy was almost too much to bear. Friends and family described her as a kind and trusting soul, someone who believed in second chances. But her story serves as a heartbreaking reminder of the dangers that can arise when trust is misplaced. Even now, the memory of what happened in that quiet Las Vegas home lingers. a chilling testament to the darkness that can sometimes hide behind a friendly face. Thank you for joining us for this exploration of some of the most unsettling, true roommate stories. While these tales can be chilling, they remind us of the importance of vigilance and trusting our instincts. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. And we'd love to hear your thoughts, share your experiences, or let us know which story resonated with you the most in the comments below. Until next time, stay safe, stay aware, and stay curious.